Minerva makers, it is Jo here, and today I'm here with a third cloning video to a few other videos that we've been making. We made one on t-shirts, how to clone a t-shirt, and it was really popular. We answered a few questions from that, and I also cloned a pair of elasticated trousers, a sort of pyjama style or summer throw-on trousers style. And today we're going to take a look at leggings or workout leggings. Here we're looking for the shape of more of a fitted silhouette in a negative ease. We're going to be using a stretch fabric, so we need to make sure that the stretch of the fabric that we want to clone our garment out of is really similar or almost exactly the same stretch percentage as the leggings that we want to clone from. That's really important, otherwise they won't fit at the end. They'll either be too tight or too baggy. To compare the stretch of your original leggings to the fabric you'd like to use, measure off 10 centimeters, hold down at 1 and see how far you can stretch your fabric. In this case it's 15 centimeters, so this fabric has 50% stretch, and do the same with your chosen fabric. This one is around 15 and 16 as well, so this is a good match for cloning a pair of leggings. You can find out the stretch percentage of a fabric on our website. It will list both the width and length stretch. Today I'm using a glossy activewear from the Minerva exclusive range. This has 4-way stretch, 60% in both directions, so I can decide if I want the stripes across my body or going down. That's up to me. I can decide how much pattern matching I want to do. I really like this because I have a purple workout top which I know will go with this fabric print. This is a medium weight fabric at 220 GSM. It's 85% polyester and 15% elastane, which is what gives it its really great stretch recovery. This is a similar stretch to my original leggings, so I'm ready to go. You can make your leggings out of a different material. It doesn't have to be the ones from your originals. You could use a scuba fabric, you could use a cotton jersey, you could look for any fabric that once you've tested the stretch in your leggings is a good match for your second pair. There are 2 ways that you can clone, so you can either clone your garment straight to the fabric and draw straight on the fabric and cut it out, in which case you'll probably get a one-time clone. But if you want to make a pattern piece, you can clone your garment onto paper, and that way you'll have a pattern that's fit for you and you can repeat using it with lots of different fabrics again and again and again. Today I'm going to do a little mix of both. So my t-shirt one was a pattern on paper, my elasticated trousers one was straight fabric, and today I'm going to do a little bit of each. There are some advantages and disadvantages to cloning your own garments. Beginners often think it's a quick and budget friendly way to recreate something, but actually you do need a little bit of knowledge sometimes on how garments come together, because of course if you're cloning a garment you won't have any instructions. So you need to know a little bit about grain line, a little bit about working with fabrics to create a 3D shape, not a flat garment. When you hold up a garment it looks flat, but actually once your body's in it you need to account for the 3D nature of clothes making. The advantage of cloning is that you can change up styles. So if you've got a pair of leggings that ride down at the back, you can add more to the crotch length at the back. If you've got a fuller tummy at the front and you want a little bit more coverage, you can add some to the front crotch length. For me, I'm quite short, so leggings are always too long for me to have to roll them up at the bottom, so I can change the length. But you can change any parts of the legging shape, and that's the advantage of cloning a pair. Even if the pair you're cloning has a few things you'd like to adapt and change, you can do that too. The first part of the video is about cloning and cutting out your fabric, so let's go over to the cutting table. Okay, so this is the style of leggings that I want to clone. It's got a deep waistband here. It's got elastic inside the casing, but it's not a separate casing. The elastic is sewn into the waistband, so it's quite flat, but it still has a little bit of stretch. I've got a bit of a hole here that's come, the hems come down, the legs are a little bit twisted, and overall they've shrunk a little bit because they accidentally got put in the tumble dryer and they have a high elastane content. So this is the leggings that I'd like to clone, because I'd like to wear these again for workout wear. The fabric is the one that I showed you before. It's the Activewear, and I've got it with the pattern right sides together, the print right sides together, and I've got the selvage running along there so that I've got the greatest direction of stretch going across my body. We're going to try and cut out the fronts first, so we're going to cut out these two front panels. And how we're going to do that is we're going to fold them in half so that the crotch seam is visible. You don't want any of the seams from the reverse showing. It's quite a dark fabric, I appreciate that, but you'll follow the actions more than what you can see. And you're going to pin them with the backs together and pin along that crotch seam. You want to see all of that seam and none of the back crotch seam. We're going to pin the inseams together, and this is hard because they've got quite a twisted leg, but you want to reveal the inseam so that you can draw around it. It will become clear in a moment, so stick with us. It will also give you the shape of the leg if your leggings are slightly shaped. So here's the ankle, it's going out a little bit for the calf, back in for the knee, and then back out for the thigh. So you can see you're getting this shape here. Once you've pinned both leg seams so that you reveal the seam shape, you're then going to put them together because you're going to cut this on the fold. It might help to pin them together. So now we know the crotch shape, we know the inseam shape, and our outer leg shape is a little bit more dubious because we've got a little bit of a twist in the fabric here, and we want to make sure that we've got enough, so we can always cut a little bit extra on the outseam and we can do some fitting with that afterwards. So don't worry too much about the outseam, get the crotch and the inside leg correct. You're going to place the leggings onto the fabric. You can do this onto paper, as I said before, but I'm going to do it straight to fabric. And you're going to draw that crotch seam and you're going to draw the inseam leg. If you mark directly that crotch shape there now, you haven't allowed for it to be stretched across your stomach. So you'll probably, depending on your body shape and your fit, you probably need to straighten up that crotch seam so that it goes here. That allows a little bit of fabric on both sides of the front to stretch across your body. Next, you're going to take the length, and then you're going to take the outseam, and this is the one that we're going to make a little bit bigger because we're not quite sure of the shaping of that one yet until we come to fitting, and you definitely don't want it to be too small. Mark the crotch length as it is, and then we can add on some seam allowance. I'm going to pin these pieces together because my Activewear is quite slippy. If you're using a cotton jersey, then it will probably just stick to the piece below. But I don't want to get lots of slippage here. What we've made here now is a legging block. So this has no seam allowances, it is just the shape from the leggings. we are going to add some seam allowances, and we're also going to double check the measurements against our body. So I know that these have shrank a little bit, so I'm just going to check the leg length because I might want to add a little bit more on at this point, and I might also add a little bit more on the hip, but I think I'll be okay down here on the leg. You need to add a seam allowance to the top waistband where you're going to add the next yoke piece. You need to add some on the outseam, the inseam, the crotch, and you'll need to measure enough turn up to make a hem. I'm using my prim wheel, which gives me a seam allowance. I'm going to make my seam allowance quite small today because I'm going to make my leggings on the overlocker. You run the wheel along your block line and you get a chalk line, whatever distance you have chosen on your gauge. Okay, we've taken a front piece, so now we're going to take out the pins and fold the leggings front to front so that we reveal the profile of the back of the leggings. So this is longer, the back crotch is always longer than the front crotch, but we're going to do all the same things. We're going to pin that crotch together so that we can see the shape of it. We're going to make that a little bit more vertical so we've got a little bit of stretch, and we're going to put those inseams together again. If you've got leggings which are a bad fit, say they're baggy around the knees or they're too tight in the thigh, it's at this point you can add or change the pattern if your leggings are a good fit in one place but not in another. Okay, make sure you've got the grain running straight. Without a pattern piece, it's hard to know where the grain is, but you want it going down the centre of your body. So if you draw in your crotch, so now my crotch front line is here. I want to make sure that the leggings aren't tilted one way or another. Before you cut your back leg, you can double check your lengths. So that is my inseam, and this is my outseam. This back piece goes up a little bit, and that's where we're going to put the waistband on. So I've double checked everything and I'm ready to cut the backs. Now I need to make the waistband. Your waistbands might be different on the front and the back. I've definitely got a deeper waistband on the back. So I'm going to cut my pieces for this out of paper, just because I want to be a little bit more accurate. This is the bit I want to fit and be comfortable when I'm exercising. So again, we're going to make a clone by making a block shape of the fabric. I'm doing the front one here, so I don't want to follow that line because that's for the back one. I want to follow the line below. So I've got the side lengths, I've got the depth of the waistband, and now I'm going to join up those lines. I'm using my French curve just to get a curved edge to the waistband on the top and the bottom. It might not be absolutely accurate, but we're going to check that in a moment. So we're just getting a basic idea here for the block piece. I'll need to be cutting 2 of these. This is now the front waistband. I'm going to cut it out. There'll be a little margin of error in there because I've used my curve and I might not have quite chosen the right curve, but I've got a centre line so I can fold it in half and make any changes in a moment. Remember, this hasn't got a seam allowance on, so I'm going to add that on too. If you're making on a sewing machine, you might want to add a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance, and some tape measures are 1.5 centimetres wide. Double check before you use it. That one's a little bit wider, some are a little bit narrower, so you can use the tape measure to draw around. You can go back to your wheel, or you can simply measure 1.5 centimetres or whatever your seam allowance is. If it's smaller because you're using an overlocker, make your choice of seam allowance around your pattern piece. When I fold it in half, my top curve is pretty good. My bottom curve perhaps not quite so accurate. So now I'm going to add the seam allowance now that I know that it will be symmetrical. My seam allowance is a little bit smaller because I'm going to make my leggings on the overlocker. I will need to cut 2 of these, one for the inside and one for the outside, and I'm going to put my elastic directly onto the waistband across the top, and I'll show you that as part of the construction. You need to make sure that when you're cutting your fabric for the waistband that you've got the greatest direction of stretch going across your body. In my case today, this is a 4-way stretch activewear, so it's the same in both directions, but I've got quite a bold print. I have switched my fabric around because I would like the stripes on the leg to be going one way and the stripes on the waistband to be going another, and it also uses up that piece of fabric. Again, you want to make sure that it's not tilted and you've got it on grain as best as possible. So I've got my centre line of my waistband, that fold I just made, and I'm making sure that that's not twisted one way or the other. It is trickier when you make your own pattern pieces because you haven't got any grain lines to work on. The second part of the video is how to put your leggings together. Obviously you might have a slightly different style to this. You might have leggings that go right up to the waist, or you might have a waist yoke like we've just cut out. But if you've cloned a pair of leggings, then you won't have instructions. So the next bit isn't just sew along, it's just a way to show you our way to construct leggings. There's more than one way, so you might prefer to do it where you make one leg and another leg and put them inside each other. I'm just showing you one way to do it, so you could get to the end of making a pair of leggings if you wanted to. If you're using a fabric you've not used before, it's good to do a test piece. So I've got all my settings on 4 and I'll work from there. Check your overlock, so you want to see the upper loopers at the top and the lower loopers on the bottom. Make sure it's stretchy without breaking, and then you can also check the stitches on the inside. You can see mine a little bit there, so I'm just going to change the needle settings to be a little bit tighter. And a little bit of my upper looper is pulling, so I'm just going to change that too and try again. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's stretchy, the overlock's better, and I'm not seeing so much of the stitches on the inside. First of all, you're going to put your crotches together, fronts with fronts, right sides together. You're going to do the same with the back crotch length. So with right sides together, the two back pieces will be joined. Now you're going to put them right sides together, the front on top of the back, and we're going to sew the inseam. Start at the crotch, match that seam up, and then take your leg seams down to the ankle. You might find here you haven't got your draft quite right, so you may need to make a few little cutting adjustments. You can see there my legs are a little bit long and uneven, but I'll deal with those later. I'm going to go to the Mariflex thread on a straight stitch on my machine. So I've got Mariflex in the top and the bottom. And I'm just going to go over my overlock seam with some Mariflex to strengthen the inside leg. I'm not going to do it all the way. I'm just going to do it in the crotch area because I know that's going to be the area under most stress. So I'm just going to put a little bit of reinforcing stitching in. It depends what you're going to use your leggings for, but that's made the crotch really, really strong. So if I'm doing yoga or a keep fit class, that will be nice and strong. Now for the out seam, you can choose here. You can either sew it, you can try them on by tacking, but that's always quite difficult because the tacking peels open. You're best just to keep shaving bits off the out seam every time you try them on. I'm happy that mine are going to be okay, so I've just pinned mine and I'm ready to sew. Now they're made, I'm going to put the waistband on, but I just want to try and check that I've got the waist and hip fit correct. All of the thigh bit is fine. I've just got a little bit of an unusual shape across my back waist, which I would like to just double check and maybe skim off. We've got the main part of our legs together now, so it's time to check out the waistband and the elastic application. Today it's a flat waistband, so you won't have any gathering and ruching. We're looking for that yoke piece around the top and a flat waistband. It's a really neat finish and it looks really super sporty in our leggings style. Okay, so I've got two back pieces and two front pieces, and I'm going to pair them up, a back with the front and a back with the front. I'm going to sew down the sides. I'm going to use Mariflex thread for maximum stretch. That's nice and stretchy on the sides, and I can open the seams out. You can see here now I've got narrower waistbands at the front than at the back. I'm going to put them inside each other, right sides together, and match up the side seams. I'm going to be sewing around the narrow part of the waistband. That's the bit that goes around my waist. The wider bit goes around my hips. You pin all the way around and sew around that upper edge. Once that's done, you can then have two backs together and two fronts together and start thinking about elastic. This is 2.5 centimeters wide, a really nice wide one, and you need a piece that is either as long as your pattern pieces or you test it around your waist. You're going to join that up into a continuous ring. I've used a zigzag stitch, and now I'm going to place this elastic around one side of the waistband. So one side is effectively a facing and there's an outer waistband. So don't pin through both layers, just through one layer. And your elastic shouldn't need to be eased because this is a flat waistband, but you're going to stitch along the edge at the top as a guide with a zigzag stitch. You can choose here, you can use a normal zigzag, or if you've got a 3-step zigzag, this one is really good because it makes your waistband super stretchy and strong. It is a pig to unpick, so make sure you've got everything in the right place. I've got Mariflex thread for that extra strength. And you just sew along the top edge of the elastic, not the bottom. And then when you turn it out, you'll have the elastic attached with the zigzag on the inside, and on the outside you shouldn't see anything at all, and it will all roll over and lie flat. Match up the lower edges. I've overlocked mine together, but you can just sew them on the sewing machine, and quarter it so that you can fit it onto the lower part of your trousers. I did just smooth out that back waistband for me after I'd done a fit. That will just mean the waistband will go on smoothly without a jar in the centre back. Match up the sides and the centre fronts. You might need to ease in some fabric now, depending on your draft. So you'll see, look, that your waistband may be smaller than your lower leg pieces. So try and split the difference and ease that fabric in all the way around. Keep halving the fabric, stretching it to fit, and you'll get lots of little bumps and hillocks in your fabric. When it's stretched, it will all be flat. You attach that on either with Mariflex on your machine or with an overlocker. You can see here a few little ripples. That's where the fabric is eased in, and they'll be gone when you wear them. You could straighten up the waistband. I have quite a narrow waist to hip ratio, and the front will be filled in my stomach, and those gathers on the back will be filled with my bottom. I've got a really good fit across the top. I haven't done any pattern matching, but you can work on all of that sort of finessing of your leggings when you make yours. All that's left is to hem the ankle cuffs. I've just overlocked those and sewn them with Mariflex so they're nice and stretchy and they won't pop when they go over my ankles. Okay, so here are the leggings finished. You can see I've got quite a deep waistband there. If you don't like your waistband as deep as that, of course you can raise the length of your legs and put a shorter band on. I haven't done any pattern matching because I've just been sharing the method with you, but you want your side seams to be running perpendicular to the floor. I've reinforced the inside so I can do stretching things, and I've got a nice stretchy cuff here. They're not too long. Often ready to wear leggings are too long for me, so I'm pretty pleased with my new workout leggings, and go with the t-shirt that I already had. Today I'm wearing the Page hoodie from Chalk and Notch. I love this hoodie pattern. This isn't a Minerva fabric, this is one from my stash. I've used some ribbing for the cuffs because I used the fuller sleeve version, so that's brought those in really nicely. I've got a flat waistband on here, some pink ties, conical tie ends, and it's got a hood in which I used a little bit of leftover navy jersey on the inside. This is a really great sporty pattern and it would look great with a pair of leggings. Not this pattern, I might be a little bit of pattern overload. It's at this point that I'll let you know this isn't a sew along particularly, it's just a way to show you how to construct leggings. They can be put together in different orders. I'm just giving you an example today. You might find it useful to check out some of our stretch sewing videos if you've not done any stretch sewing before, and a particularly good one is our fabric masterclass where it's specific to activewear if this glossy fabric is one of the ones that you'd like to try sewing with. I hope that with the combination of our 3 cloning videos, it's given you a little bit of confidence to have a go at doing that yourself. If you've got more complex garments, maybe in woven fabrics, you'll need to have a little bit more knowledge. And sometimes I advise people, if you've really got something like a pair of jeans that you'd like to clone, you would spend so much money making toiles of fabrics to try and get the fit right. Your best bet is to try and find a pattern that is similar to the garment that you want to clone and make fitting adjustments. You can use the videos from Izzy. She's got lots on our playlists where she shows you how to draft and fit for different styles. If you do want to clone something, it might be that you need to take your garment apart a little bit so that you can actually see the flat 2D dimension of your pattern pieces. If you want to keep your garment as one and carry on wearing it and make a copy of it, then it's quite tricky because you won't always see all the hidden parts that make the 3D shape of a garment. It really is an experimentation and you might not get it right the first time. So look at cloning as a way to draft your patterns, not always straight away get exactly the same clone. We would love to see anything you've been making, whether you've cloned it or not, over on Minerva. You can make a free account there and share your makes, take some photographs, give a description, tell us what pattern you used. We really like to see what fabrics are matched with which patterns. That's really interesting for both us and all of our Minerva makers. You can check out what other makers have been up to. It really is an inspirational place to hang out. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you here again soon for another one of our videos.